Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of TFG Radio, a shortened episode and a shortened staff. Because it's just myself and Danny,
Hey.
my
Hey.
trusted comadre, according to my wife.
You know, we had to keep this baby alive somehow, and here we are.
There's only so many Pod Save the Imperiums I can throw in there.
Yeah, right.
So, real quick, there's a few things for today. We have WCW is going on as the day of this recording, which is Thursday. The weekend of WCW, the first day is complete. This year they're doing a pod system where I believe it's the first place from each pod makes it to the round of 16 because there's 16 pods.
I believe so. Yeah.
And then they do then this year they're doing a single elimination tournament like a normal person. Like a normal event. instead of doing us Little League Baseball double elimination, which I fucking hate.
Yeah.
Hated it then, hate it, and still hate it now.
It just takes too. It just takes too long. Like it's just too much to play, and I don't know.
I think it's just I don't know.
It's also unfeasible for
feel
any
it's-
large event.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest issue is like I understand you want to do something unique with your format because, you know, your Games Workshop, this is supposed to be your big premiere event, but it's also like, okay, no one else is going to do this because you can't run this event with more, you know, how many days can you have, right? This
Right.
is not like a 2-week like tournament series. This
yeah.
is not March Madness.
It's not the Little League World Series
Right.
where you have like a month to play or even it's I mean not even I don't even know any professional. I'm trying to think. Not even World Cup does it. Once they go to this round of 32, it's just top cut. I mean, it's just single elimination after the
Yeah.
you know. So, but
I mean, unless you're going to do baseball styles, like, you know, okay, best of 5, best of 7.
oh yeah, that's the
It's
only
just
other way to do it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's something. But so that's going on. Good luck to everybody who's made it so far. But we'll just have the results if you can watch it on GW's Twitch stream, I believe. And I don't know if you'd want to watch it only because I'm personally not a big fan of GW's streaming when they stream games because they don't mic the players. I believe they do that because of what the players might say.
Right, yeah, they just...
So
I think
I
they've
mean-
been... they've seen the things that can happen because of that.
Yeah, but I mean, but then there's times where you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, see, that's what's hard. I mean, if you're not going to mic the players, you absolutely have to have the announcers who have to have someone feeding them information as it's happening, and they have to be really, at the end of the day, they have to be high level players who can really identify what's going on, what strategies are being used, like what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to find that and also be entertaining at the same time.
Yeah, and that's and in the early days that was a struggle, and what unfortunately we have people like War Games Live and a couple other places that have really like raised the level of quality for live streams for 40K events and for Age of Sigmar and other events also, because there's other people out there that do just as well with like Kill Team as a popular one. We know Dakota.
Yeah, his stream's great.
He also has a really good YouTube channel. He has a segment called Highlander for paint, where what they take different paint brands of a certain color, and they do like a blind test of each paint, and then they figure out which one is the best paint for that color.
Oh, that's cool.
So they take Vallejo, Army Painter, GW, I think it's AK, Monument Hobbies, Tooth and Coats. They take all of them and they test them out for each color. So not every color is always the same company. And he's told me some companies are upset about it, and other companies, whether they win or lose, are kind of roll with it, and they kind of actually enjoy the episode. So It's the podcast is the YouTube channel is called, I want to say Squad Games. I believe that's what it's called. And then it's called the Highlander Painting Challenge, and they do metallics, they do all kinds. It's actually a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think he said those so far they've done a bunch of them, but there's only been one paint where it was a literal tie between two different brands. I think one of them was actually a GW paint, and that wasn't a contrast paint. So, but again, so they do a lot of Kill Team stuff, and they do a lot of Kill Team streaming. I know Age of Sigmar does. There's different streamers for it. I know Frontline doesn't do it anymore. But if and the different game systems all have their different streamers that do it. So, and they're of varying quality. I'm not gonna lie, but I think Joe at War Games Live has really set the benchmark. GW does a lot of pretty stuff like Joe does, but I think it's in the substance, like we mentioned, of the commentators that really set it apart, and the fact that you know what's going on with War Games Live as opposed to GW, where not even the commentators know what's going on sometimes. So,
right.
but that's just one man's opinion. So,
Yeah.
and
it's really, really hard to
yeah,
like stream Warhammer and make it interesting because the game. I mean, we may love the game, but the game is boring as hell, right? Like to watch, unless you really know what's going on and you have people who can really get you engaged with what's happening. It's just like, okay, this dude's just moving his models and roll the dice. Okay.
yeah. I mean, just like baseball, I can't watch it on TV for the most part, but actually playing it is a different story. So. I mean, I can't watch it unless it's like the playoffs or the World Series. So with the WCW happening this weekend, GW decided to put out an FAQ again, which they did last year. And the funny thing is, they always make the same caveat when they do this. Here's our FAQ errata for the tournament, but don't apply it to the game as a whole. But this is probably what it's going to look like when the next balanced data slate shows up. Which is like, okay, I guess we're covering all our bases. I mean,
Right.
I get it because things can change, which is what happened last year, where they made a ruling for WCW, and then the ruling was changed when the balanced data slate came out, because it's last year anyway. It was two different sets of people working on it. The events team worked on the WCW document, and then the rules team worked on the balanced data slate. So they came up with two different answers. This year, I believe they worked more closely, which I believe they said, it's because there's a little intro, and it's from the design studio and the events team. So ideally, what you're seeing for WCW is what you're going to see, part of what you're going to see at when the next balanced data slate comes out. The assumption is December, but that's not guaranteed, which makes it fun for me and you, Danny, since we're both judging LVO in January.
I should probably start paying attention to these things then.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll go over the FAQ real quick for those who haven't seen it. A couple of answers to the core rules. One, it was in regards to making reactive moves if an enemy unit, if they end within a certain distance when you disembark from a transport. So let's say you move your Rhino up, your unit gets out. There's a Grey Knight unit within 9 inches. Can they use Miscedaemos, to move away or whatever? Right. And they said no, because disembarking is not a quote unquote normal move. So it's only when you make an actual normal move when you can use those abilities as a reaction to a move.
Okay.
And there was always confusion about that. I can't remember how we answered it. I think we said no also initially, but I'll have to go back and double check. The other one says after unit disembarks, can they make a normal advance move, and has not yet made So the transport hasn't moved. You get out. My unit must make a normal or advanced move. When it ends that move, can an enemy unit make a reactive move, which is basically the opposite of what I just said. So if the transport hasn't moved yet and they get out, and the unit gets out and moves, then they can make a reactive move because you actually made a normal move as opposed to just getting out. Get
Okay,
it?
so yes, if the transport stays still and you get out, then yes. If the transport moved and you're just disembarking,
Then no.
then no. Okay, that's totally logical, I guess. Mm, sure, sure, whatever, buddy.
Another question is asked about the consolidation. Basically, can you go in any direction as long as you end closer to an objective and remain within range of it? And that's basically yes. So you don't have to go like directly towards the objective. So you can go
Right.
in any direction as long as you end up closer to the objective and on the objective, which I guess is a thing. Which can be a thing, especially if your unit is large enough and there's multiple objectives close by.
Hmm.
Huh. So if you use a transport to rapid ingress, can you disembark from it?
Can you?
No, the answer is no.
No. Well, yeah, that'd probably be too cool. That'd be too good.
Yeah. I didn't get a lot of those questions.
Although honestly, it doesn't really matter because like if you rapid ingress some like a transport anyway, if you do it right and you just put it where they can't engage it or see it, you just on your turn they just get out and move normally anyway, right? And they can
Yeah,
charge and do all
there's really
that.
no
So it's like
benefit to them
yeah,
getting out. Trying to think of a benefit for them, unless there's some ability or aura that they need to be within that. Like Death Guard.
right,
If they want to use their aura uh, to make you -1 to hit or -1 toughness,
right,
then I can see them trying to do that. That's why they would want to get out of the transport as soon as it arrives,
right,
so they can have a broader reach as opposed to just that transport. Not maybe the transport's maybe a couple inches out because it's only 6 inches because it's only turn 1 or 2. So if
right.
the people get out, then the adds 3 inches. So then now they're within the aura. But if you rapid ingress, then you can't do that. The last question is about can you use a stratagem to worsen the armor penetration of an enemy attack in close combat? Oh, when an enemy unit fights on death.
Right.
The answer is no.
Okay.
I think because it's out of phase.
Yeah.
Then questions for the Pariah mission deck. When scoring overwhelming for a couple of these had to do with multiple characters because I had a
Right.
lot of these questions.
Of course.
Basically, an overwhelming force, which is kill a unit on an objective. How do you
Hmm.
calculate VP if you destroy one or more units with an attached unit? So if there's an attached unit, start of the turn within range of objective, you score VP for each unit within that unit that you destroyed this turn. So for the example they give is there's a leader in the bodyguard unit, you would score 5 victory points, which is 3 victory points each times, with the max is 5, if both the leader and the unit is on the objective.
Right.
The moment, just for clarification, the moment a unit is destroyed totally, including the leader and the bodyguard, the instant they are quote unquote destroyed, they immediately separate into individual units again.
Right.
And that triggers things like assassinate, especially if you have multiple characters in a unit, things like that. Um, if a unit that is part of an attached unit is destroyed, and that attached unit was performing an action, can the remaining units in that attached unit still complete the action?
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, so if the leader and the bodyguard are doing an action on an objective, let's say, and the bodyguard unit is killed, can the leader still perform the action? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. When they started, when they started the action, they were all kind of doing it, and then just because the unit dies doesn't mean the leader has to stop doing it.
Yeah.
I mean that makes sense.
Then the next one was about using the smoke and mirrors mission rule, which I believe is the one where you put battle line in reserves.
I think so. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, someone will correct us. If you select the transport with units inside, do you use the combined points total of that transport and the embarked units for the 25% strategic reserve limit? Because you can only put 500 points in reserve using this rule, and the answer is yes. So the transport is included in the cost, as well as the units inside. So if my unit starts an action in my turn that completes at the end of my opponent's turn, can I target that unit with the fire overwatch stratagem in my opponent's turn without you causing that action to fail? Oh, this one I've been asked before. So if I'm doing an action and I want to fire overwatch, can I do that and still do the action? I'll let you answer, Danny.
My instinct would be no. But, I mean, I could see the rules thing. Why? Because it's an out-of-phase thing. It's not making a normal shooting attack.
Yeah, so the answer is yes, you can.
That's pretty funny.
It is, and I think the reasoning is because it's an out-of-phase. It's an out-of-phase response. So the rule for shooting... I'd have to look at the action pamphlet and see if it says shooting in your shooting phase.
Right.
Because if it says that, then that... But if it doesn't, then this just clarifies. Because I did get asked that a couple times. Can a unit from my army start to perform the terraform action on the same objective? Oh, this one's funny. So basically, can you and your opponent perform the terraform action on the same objective?
I guess so.
The answer is no. So first will come, first serve, buddy.
Well, that is more logical and probably and a lot cleaner too.
Yeah. A bunch of faction rules or questions also. This one's relative for me anyway. After an enemy unit ends a charge move, does the siege shield ability or linebreaker ability allow my model to shoot that enemy unit that is now within engagement range using the fire overwatch stratagem?
I don't know what Siegebreaker is.
Siegebreaker lets you shoot into combat with even with blast weapons without penalty.
Okay.
So no -1 to hit, and you can use blast weapons. So it makes Vindicator so good if you happen to charge them and don't kill them. The answer is no, because it's basically if you can't do the Overwatch because you're now in engagement range, and the big guns never tire rule kicks in for the reason why you can't do it.
Right.
They changed. They fixed the Aquilons, the Tempestus Aquilons with their precision drop. You can only do it. So their 3-inch deep strike is only in your movement phase. So you can't rapid ingress within 3 inches of an enemy unit.
I'm just trying to take everything from guard.
And they also said they can't use the grenade strat if their servo sentry shoots. Because one of the abilities is when it lands, it gets to shoot.
Right.
The servo sentry immediately. I was asked that question at the SoCal Open, and I did answer no because it shot.
Right.
Black Templars. I don't care. Nobody's playing Black Templars right now. If I target a unit with the Fervent Acclamation stratagem, and a model in that unit is the bearer of an enhancement from the right... Oh, Jesus. This is the Templar Vow I selected when using that stratagem active in the same way as the Templar Vow that is active for my army. So basically, are both Templar Vows active? And the answer is yes. It's a lot. Okay. They changed the Blood Angels Death Company driven by Fury. Where it says, when doing so, this model can be moved within engagement range of an enemy unit. That's basically the only thing they added. Chaos Knights can use the Knight of Shade stratagem after rolling the charge roll. Which I guess before you couldn't, or it was just a question of whether you could or not. I forget what the stratagem says, when you can use it. Danny, do you remember?
I have to look it up. I think it's just.
It just
I
says
thought it
like
was
when you move.
declare a charge.
Oh.
It's when you're making a move, or yeah, it's.
Oh, so I guess the question is before was do I do it before or after I roll to see if I make the charge? Because what's the point of spending the stratagem if you're not going to make it?
Right. Trader's Lance, well, on stratagems. Knights of
Dark
Shades.
Angels is
Your
clarification to the
movement
Watcher
phase
in the
or your
Dark.
choose phase.
What does it say?
It just says your movement phase or your charge phase is when you use it.
Oh, so I guess it was just a question of when.
Yeah. So yeah, because there it's just you technically are using your charge phase, so you could, I could see though until after you have to do it before you roll, but you could I see by the language be like, no, I don't need to. I just
Right.
have to do it during the charge phase.
Clarification with Watcher in the Dark. And then, as the controlling player, can I choose when to activate Lionel Johnson's once per turn all secrets reveal ability? The answer is yes, which I don't know why that's a question, but I guess. Someone just asking if I infect for Death Guard. If I infect an objective and someone takes it, is it still infected? The answer is yes. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything in that rule that says it's not infected. It's not like a sticky objective.
Right.
G-Stealer Cults. When setting up a unit using Cult Ambush. If my ability has the ability to... if they have the restrictions... So they're affected by like the 12-inch Omni Scrambler thing. That's basically all they have. Grey Knights.
I don't know.
Huh?
I don't know why Space Marine players don't always have two of those units.
Because they're expensive. I don't know. Because no one plays Space Marines.
One for the front, one for the back.
Liquor in the front, poker in the rear. As the controlling player for Grey Knights, can they choose when to activate Drago's ability? Yes. I think someone asked me about Drago, but they didn't. It wasn't that specific question. Space Marines. This one came up a lot. When you're using the Gladius Task Force, can you choose a combat drop? Can you use this? Can you choose? Do you have to have a combat doctrine in order to use adaptive strategy stratagem? It's a lot of S's.
Mm-hmm.
We said yes. WTC and I said yes, but GW saying no. You don't have to have a combat doctrine active, so you can use that stratagem on turn one, and have two doctrines automatically before the game starts, basically. So I'll have to change that in the FAQ, and that's basically it. It's pretty short and sweet. Nothing too like earth shattering.
Right.
Maybe they didn't want to like rock the boat too much. Gene Cult thing's pretty interesting. Obviously the Aquilon's restrictions. I think they're still pretty good. I think they upped their price a little bit also, but I think they're still pretty good for their price for what they do.
3-inch deep strike meta is a thing, so
yeah,
still good.
Yeah, so that's the WCW FAQ. Most people have talked about already. We'll see how much of it stays intact for the update, and we're fingers crossed for the December update. At least for me.
Oh yeah, right.
There is the reveals tomorrow. At the time of this recording, it is Thursday night. I'll try to get this out actually tonight, so it looks like we're ahead. Considering the last few reveals have been relatively tepid, to say the least. Danny, what's your thoughts on tomorrow? We'll do this now, so
Eldar.
You think it's all Eldar?
I don't think it's all Eldar, but I bet that's going to be, the main thing, and then maybe a tease of Emperor's Children. That'd be my guess.
They don't. I'm wondering if they. if they have there's that rumor engine picture that looks like Altharius' spear. But there's I think a character in Black Library character that carries the spear now. So maybe it could be that character in 30K, or maybe even in 40K for Chaos. Not 100% sure on that one, but I think I'm trying to find the latest image for the reveal show, but I can't find it because this thing is really bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that website is pretty terrible, man. Just pretty terrible.
Oh man! Because usually what ends up happening is oh yeah, this even the wow, this is pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, sir.
Oh man, yeah. I'm looking at posts on the GW website from 2023. Perfect. But I with the book with the Eldar book coming out next year. We're only a couple months away from the new year, so
yeah, we're like 6 weeks away from the new year, but carry on.
Still a couple months.
Technically.
I don't know. I agree. We're probably gonna see Eldar, some of the new Eldar sculpts. I don't know what the because I can't see the other images. I know there's something for almost everything, I think. But for 40K, oh man, Eldar. I think you're also going to see Imperial Guard, like 1 or 2 Imperial Guard models.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get too much more than that, but they'll get a new book and probably a character or something like that.
Yeah, I think that was the MO for the last couple of releases, where if they didn't need a whole range refresh, then they just got the like a model, a character model, or a couple character models, and that was it. I'm trying to think of what I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping for a little more substantial Emperor's Children stuff. They teased the shoulder pads a little while ago.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping for in regards to like anything, really just anything. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping maybe a tease of Fulgrim. I don't know if they can top Forge World Fulgrim. I don't know how much different they can make him.
That's the thing. I'm like, what are they going to do? Are they just like, how do they make him significantly different?
Better.
Or, yeah, well, plastic will solve a lot of those problems.
If they made that same model in plastic, it'd be fine. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. It's just, in resin, those spindly bits are just asking for death.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I prefer that model in plastic, if possible.
Right. Absolutely.
So yeah. So fingers crossed on that. I'm trying to think of what else. I'm so behind on the epic stuff. I haven't even looked at the Mechanica stuff. I mean, the Dark Mechanicum looked cool, but They have the Lord of the Rings stuff coming out with the new
Oh yeah, they have
edition.
the War of the Rohirrim models.
That comes. The movie comes out in a couple weeks, I think.
So they're probably gonna do something for that, right?
Uh, oh, you know what? They haven't shown what the box looks like.
Yeah. So that could
The
be
new
something.
starter box. They may show that.
Yeah, maybe.
Um, there's the new edition of Underworlds, but they've already released the starter box,
Right.
and they released the boxes with all the war bands.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're missing any models from either side, you can just buy the whole thing. That's kind of convenient, though. I think.
Yeah.
If you got to collect them all from one side or the other or both. Trying to think of what else. What else could they possibly be? Maybe I'm gonna say a new game.
I hope not.
Battlefleet Gothic's back,
Oh God.
but it's Horus Heresy.
Yeah, of course it's gonna be Horse Heresy.
Horus Heresy Battlefleet Gothic. I'm calling it now.
No, please not. No,
I'm in.
I refuse.
I'm
I
in.
refuse. Of course.
I'm in. But we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. So fingers crossed. I'll be on my lunch tomorrow watching the videos. I'll try to be, because it's 1 p.m. Eastern time, so 10 a.m.
Taking
Pacific
early
Coast.
lunch.
Early lunch. Well, I'm already halfway through my shift at that time, so it's not an early lunch for me.
That's fair.
I normally take a late lunch.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so looking forward to that. We also have the Christmas boxes were released. We're looking at the 40K stuff, really. If you haven't got them already, Sister One looks okay. The Night One's to me, is always a good value.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's actually honestly probably a better Chaos Knight box. If you've got the bits to chaosify them, because you're not gonna 4 little dogs is not bad, and
That's almost half the army already.
yeah, although it's the problem with the chaos ones, you want the chaos specific ones, and it looks like it's all they haven't built as all armor or as all
The
all
shooty
brands.
ones. Yeah.
But I don't know, I actually like the Dark Angel one just because you get the lion and you get a bunch of Deathwing shit.
Tau one is blah. Necron one is eh.
Yeah, I mean, the Void Dragon's such a cool model, but then the rest of it's just like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the Dark Angel one's good if you want a cuz Blade Guard and Deathwing Knights.
It's 6 Inner Circle companions, 10 Deathwing Knights, and then of course good old Lionel Johnson and a Chappie in Terminator armor.
Yeah, if you don't have them all already, you may as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lions. I'd like to get one eventually just to paint. So I mean, they're fine boxes. It would have been, I don't know.
Yeah. Nothing. I mean,
The Tau one, honestly, if you're actually thinking of playing Tau,
is it
two of
Riptide,
those-
Ghostkeel?
two of those go a long way.
Yeah.
Because ghost kills are so good. Ghost
Yeah,
kills
right
are
now
so
they're
annoying
really
to
good.
kill.
Yeah.
They're just so annoying to kill. They're the best anvil that Tau has to just kind of gum up your opponent for the first 2 turns, so you actually have time to blast them and move into position to take objectives.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I don't know if I want the having two. If you bought 2 boxes, you'd have 2 Riptides and 2
2 broadsides.
two Ghost Keels, but then you'd have 4 broadsides. But I don't know anybody that uses
No, it's
broadsides.
just one broadside. They just give you one broadside. It's one broadside, one riptide, one commander.
It's it's a commander.
Yeah.
Oh,
So having 2 commanders isn't bad, because you can always use the cold stars for.
only
actual
one
bullshit.
broadside.
Yeah. So with you have 2 broadsides, it gives you be able to if you want,
I
run a
guess
broadside unit, which they're not terrible. I don't think.
I would rather just get fucking just bog troops recruit or something.
I mean, that's fair, but
All robots and all crude. All big robots and all crude.
But that's not
What do I know?
thematic, dude.
Huh?
That's not thematic.
It would. Croots and robots?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
like I said, I think broadsides are slept on a little bit just because the what is it? The heavy rail rifle is really good, like
Mm-hmm.
really good anti-armor tech, which not that town necessarily need, but also like broadsides are hard to gun back down because they're
Really?
T6. They got a 2+ save. They got 8 wounds each. Right, like they're hard to like easily pick up from range, so they can kind of sit, especially in cover, and just lay down some fire. And even the high yield missile pods, like if you have 2 of them, that's 12 shots. Only AP1, but damage 2 twin linked isn't bad. But I mean, I do like the heavy rail rifles. I think that can do a lot. And then I still think Riptides are fine. They're not as good as they used to be, but they can still do work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well. And we're not going to worry about the Sigmar, because...
No.
So moving on to the last bit of business, LVO's coming up.
Hey.
Last count I heard was over 1,000 players, and yeah, Jesus, that's a lot of players.
It really is. It's too many. It's too many. I mean, it's just too many.
I'll have a link for model approval and questions in the description below. Give it some time. I probably won't get to it till after Thanksgiving. Which basically is basically like next week. So
Right.
after next weekend, I'm in the process right now of choosing which missions to take for the event. I know the packets should be done probably after Thanksgiving. It's coming up soon, but we'll try to get those out as soon as possible. I'm also trying to figure out when the roll cutoff date will be. The last one, it was like the week before, and it seemed to work out that way. Work out fine. I think we're going to be okay if we do it again, but I'm not. Don't hold me to that because I got to find out if there's going to be any surprises.
Right.
And then I can make the date, but we'll see what happens. Any changes? Again, I think they're trying to push for 1,000 players day one. As long as there's not more than 1054, we're fine.
Right.
Because once it gets past 1054, we'll have more than technically we should have more than 16 undefeated. So that'll become an issue.
Yeah, it's gonna become a real problem.
Yeah. So, other changes is if you got the club pass last year, it's there again this year. The difference being there's no limit to how many people you can put on the list for the club pass. Last year it was limited to 10 people.
Right.
This year there's no limit. So, and all of that is just to make things easier for people to make it easier for people to register. So the registration line's not long. This last one was the registration line, even though it was super long when we got there.
Right.
It went away like really within an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at most. But other than that, we're probably going to be a little more strict on the painting, which we've tried to do all year this year. I can't think of anything else. We're gonna be, if you saw the tables at Champs Cup, all those tables will again be available during the champs. So you'll have the FLG match play table. You'll have the new FLG match play table. I'm pretty sure, which is called District 13, I believe. They just released it like a day ago. And then we're gonna have a bunch of the WTC tables. So if you're not familiar with WTC tables, get familiar with WTC tables because they're going to be there, as well as the Imperial and the Urban Corruption, the Sisters of Battle and the Urban Corruption tables. I don't know why I tried to use the actual names. That's what everyone knows them as. So it's those same tables. Time, I think, should be the same. If you're interested in the hobby side of it, Danny, you're the one in charge of it because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I believe you're working on a new rubric that's
Yeah,
different.
I'm gonna try and get that out by the start of, by again after Thanksgiving, like by the
Yeah.
first week of December, so that way people have 5 6 weeks to like look at their projects. I'm gonna just say it now. I'm gonna aim just because there's so many people. I'm gonna aim for a much more simplified rubric that's easier to kind of get through with
Mm-hmm.
everybody. Um, that's really it's I mean my kind of rough idea is kind of what we've used before of just like there's battle ready, there's battle ready, there's tabletops plus, and then after that level is where we start getting more into the nitty gritty of like
Right.
do you have advanced techniques like non-metallic metal, right? Do you have conversions, and things like that. And so, again, and what I always say, and people don't listen, if your army is not beyond tabletop plus, like if you look in the core rule book, if you look at GW of what they define as tabletop plus, if your army is not beyond that, it's not worth it to get paint judged. Right, because like again, even if you're like, well, I might make Renman, I might go 6-0, I might go 7-0, and make Renman. It's like, you probably won't, just because like there's a lot of people, especially high level players, who take the time to really make sure their armies are painted to a certain standard, and that's beyond tabletop plus,
Right.
right? So it's just something to consider. But yeah, the kind of rough idea in my head is that using some other previously used rubrics from different places of just really
Mm-hmm.
having that kind of the first few steps are going to be very very simplified of just tabletop. Is it basically legal to play? Is it 3 color standard? Is it tabletop plus? And then it's the after the table to the mastery level that will be a little
Right.
more a little more crunchy, but honestly not as crunchy as it has been because it just takes too much time to check all those boxes.
Yeah.
Right, it's going to be much more of like, and also I'm just for me, and I know not everyone agrees with this, but for me, I don't like the idea of there's an individual checkbox for every specific advanced technique because sometimes you don't do that. Like if you're playing a death core, a death core of Krieg army that's like all the original resin, you don't necessarily want to do a bunch of conversions on that.
Right.
You don't want to cut it up. And so why would you be penalized when your army is technically more skilled because you didn't do a lot of conversions, right?
Yeah.
The same way of like, there shouldn't be a thing of like, do you have LEDs or gas effects or things like that of like, okay, not everyone wants to do that because maybe that doesn't fit the theme of their army. Maybe
Or they
it
can't
doesn't
fit it in the
work
air
with the
in the
aesthetic
airport
of
in the airline.
right, or they're traveling, right? So I'm
Yeah.
going to try and move away from those boxes of like their specific check marks and have it more just be set into thematics of like, is it achieving these goals? And then
Right.
whoever maxes out goes into the final top cut and the parade.
Okay. Sounds good. I mean, it sounds like it's a little more. If you went to Champs Cup or to SoCal Open this year, we had a very simplified uh, uh, initial rubric that gave us more of a top cut, and then we went from there. I think it's more involved than that, but not as involved as the one
It's
we
definitely
used
not as
at
involved as in
The
2024.
online one from Cherokee or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that's the like more of like the Hobby Goblin,
Yeah, that one was a
old
little more
FLG one.
extreme. I didn't, and there was a lot to it, So
Yeah, and again, it's not that these are I'm not going to hate on anyone's rubrics because I think it's really, really, really hard, guys. If you've never tried to do it, it's really hard to create a hobby rubric that's
yeah,
fair, especially when you have to also consider like if we're lucky, we're going to have 150, 200 submissions. That's if we're lucky. If we're unlucky, we're going to get 300 or 400. Where again, more than half of these are not really shouldn't be in the running, but people just like, oh, I should get a hobby judged.
they
You know
just
what I
want to
mean?
know, Danny. They just want to know where
Mm-hmm.
they're at and what they need to improve on. I don't know why you
Well,
gotta
sure,
hate.
and again, I appreciate that, but they're also not the one who has to, you know, make that train run on time.
Uh, and call
You
you
know what I mean?
Mussolini.
Yeah, right. Well, shit. I mean,
At least he made the trains run on time.
exactly. Yeah. Only time in Italian history.
Oh man. There was I was talking to someone that worked at the DMV one time, and they said that there are people that schedule or that try to take the driving test
Mm-hmm.
even though there's no reason for them to take the driving test. Like they're not like they didn't have any accidents. They didn't. There's no
Right.
vision problems. There's nothing wrong with the way they drive. But they said they want to know like where they're at in terms of like their driving skill, I guess.
Right.
So they would take the test. They would try to take the test. But,
God, that infuriate me.
but he said they don't let them. Otherwise, it'd be even worse than it. The wait times would be even worse than they already are.
Right, of course.
So it's just like those people out there like that, Danny. They just want to know.
Yeah.
They want to know where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
So I know where I'm at, which is why I never get paint judged, unless I know I have a very good shot at either best painted or Ren Man. And when I did get paint judged, I did win. In one instance, I won best painted because the best painted army won the event,
Mm-hmm.
and that was Alan back in the early aughts. And the other time I got Red Man because I knew Jeff Poole was gonna, I think he was gonna win the event, and and then I was the best painted and the highest placing at the event at the time because no one else got paint judged.
Right. Bravo.
You got to know you got to play. You got to play to your strengths, and you got to play the odds on that one too.
Mm-hmm.
If you see, oh, so and so's not here, oh, my army looks pretty good, and Alan happened to win that one time, and mine was like the best painted at the time. It's a different time then, Danny.
Yeah,
I actually sold that
very
army.
different world.
I never should have. I always regret selling that army. Anyway, I think that's all there is right now for LVOs. There's not too much else to announce. For those that have never been before, have never played in an FLG event, the event won't show up in BCP until about a couple weeks before. So usually by late December, early January, the event will show up in BCP, and you will get an email from BCP that's going to have a registration code. You just plug in that code, click the link, plug in the code, and you're in. There are issues when people transfer their ticket because the code will go to whoever the original owner was sometimes, or if you transferred the ticket after I think it's after a certain point. I forget what point I don't know what point it is though. After a certain point, when Frontline gets the list of players, if a transfer is made after that, then you're not going to get a code at all. Or if you signed up, somehow got a ticket right after or something, you're not going to get a code. Just let me know. You just email me at headjudge@frontlinegaming.org, and I'll take care of it. You just need a screenshot of your ticket or the transfer, and then you'll be all set. It happens at every event, so it's no big deal for me. So it just takes a few minutes usually. Depends how busy it is or how busy I am. But I think that's it for now. A relatively short episode. This is our Thanksgiving episode, since we're not going to have a show next week. We'll have a show after Thanksgiving. Hopefully everyone, Tom is lost to us in the warp that is parenthood.
18 children.
So I don't know. I don't know when if he'll ever be back. So we'll see. And then John, it's that time of year where he does the play every night for practice, and then the actual show. And I think that ends at the end of November, I think. But so we should have at least one, maybe two more shows before Christmas, and then we take our annual break between now and the new year. But Danny, I guess we'll end it here for the month of November. Danny, any last words?
Play games, be nice to each other.
As always. Well, thank you everybody for listening. I hope everybody has if you're in the U.S., have a very happy Thanksgiving, especially with all the days off, which I will enjoy.
Hell yeah.
Thank you everybody for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, don't forget to subscribe, download and subscribe. But again, thank you everybody. Good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
Laters.